everybody. Hope all of you are doing well. Welcome to yet another episode of Andropique presenting to you Mic Testing with me, Gavin Phillips. Now, today we have with us Dr. Tim Harrigan. He's a chiropractic physician by profession, but also holds deep knowledge and interest in functional and evidence-based nutrition formulas. He is passionate about helping people with the skill sets and experiences to find out the root causes of one's health-related issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome on the show Dr. Tim Harrigan. A warm welcome, Doctor, to our show here today. Okay, so welcome to our show that is Andropique presents to you Mic Testing with me, Gavin. And it's a pleasure to have you here sitting on the hot seat. So you've been in the industry for a very long time. Please tell us about your journey. I'm sure it's really interesting and exciting, and our viewers really want to know about your journey.
Absolutely. So I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I originally started in health over 20 years ago as a personal trainer. I was a skinny kid. We graduated high school, probably 140 pounds. So I got into lifting weights when I was, probably 18, 17 maybe. And honestly, the thing with lifting weights, of course, it helps our physical body. But what I got out of it, what I still get out of it, is the discipline of the process of being patient, working hard, and that sort of thing. So it was incredible. My cousin kind of forced me into it. He was more like a big brother to me. And so he made me wake up at 5 a.m. and start working out with him. And so it just kind of stuck with me. So since then, for 25 years, almost 27 years, it's part of my life. And so fitness and health, they're not always the same thing, right? People do some crazy things in fitness, these crazy diets and other things, different chemicals they're using. So I'm more into the health side of things. So I started in fitness. I was going to be an eye doctor at one point. I was going to go to college to be, I was pre-med with the life sciences degrees. And I just got really tired of looking at eyeballs. So I knew nothing about the natural health care field. And I talked to my cousin's brother-in-law at the time, and he was doing functional medicine. So I was already graduated. I had my pre-med degree from Kansas State University. I was getting ready to apply to a 4-year optometry school. Remember, I had been personal training. I was doing construction. I was doing, optician type things with glasses.
How come you remove so much time for so many things to do? On a daily basis, doing a task or two is a little bit challenging, but doing more than that is not that possible. How come you remove so much time to do so many kind of activities? Because I'm sure everyone has 24 hours in a day. How come you remove those amount of time?
That's a good question. I don't know. So I was originally working as an optician because that was the field I was going into.
Absolutely.
I was very good at construction. So I opened my own company for a while for that. It was good money. The personal training was really for myself, right? I wanted to learn how to take care of my body because I didn't grow up very healthy. I had asthma. I had different skin conditions and things like that.
Sure.
And I wasn't that healthy. So when my cousin kind of introduced me to that discipline, it completely changed my world. And so since then, we've taken that to a whole different level. So I've learned functional medicine, essentially, where I just used it for myself again. I got into that. Basically, how do I take care of my human frame? Because I've learned that if your health goes away, right, when you get a really sick person, right, Steve Jobs, for example, I think Forbes said he was worth like 7 billion. Maybe I'm off on that number, but that number doesn't matter anymore, right? When you're sick, you want one thing, right? You want one thing. It's your health, right? So when you're healthy, we want lots of things, right? We have wishes. We want the cars and the watches and all these things. A sick person wants one thing. So I saw that growing up a little bit, which just, I wasn't feeling good. There's people are sick and tired. And so I didn't want to fit into that mainstream model of most people around us. There's a good book called Death by Medicine.
Okay.
The number one killer is actually heart disease in America anyway. Number 2 is cancer. Number 3 is actually medical intervention. Medical intervention is the 3rd cause of death by medicine, and medications are the 4th leading cause of death. So I've always innately, my gut always said that I don't want to be involved in that. All of those things you can affect them to some degree, right, with your lifestyle. So I think it just started as an obsession for myself, and since then I've helped thousands of patients. I'm an evidence-based guy, so I love doing blood work.
Okay.
I don't treat or cure anything. However, the human physiology, there's really 3 things that happen: deficiencies, toxicities, and imbalances, right? So the body's incredible, though. It's so advanced, you can't simplify the human body. There's 30,000 billion trillion chemical reactions in your body every second. That happened just now, 30,000 billion trillion.
Wow.
It just happened again, 30,000 billion trillion. It's incredible. So our brains can't even wrap around the concept of what happens in 1 second in our body. Exactly. So it's our lifestyle that we have control of that will enhance that physiology, that will bring us more to homeostasis.
So your cousin introduced you to fitness, and it apparently turned out to be your lifestyle, right? So a small message to everyone apparently watching is, we have these challenges being thrown like every month or every week, a 90-day transformation, or like 75 hard, that is at point time, which is very much in demand. The question is, you do a 90-day challenge, you get to your target or you come close to your target. Since you do it for 90 days consistently, you can either say, okay, I've reached my target and I'm happy now, let me just live my life. Or that 90 days helps you in creating a lifestyle. That's a base that helps you creating a lifestyle for yourself, if I'm not mistaken. But if you won't have a schedule of getting up at 5 in the morning, eating the right, correct food, exercising daily, not eating any kind of junk for 90 days, I get used to it. So even after 90 days, it becomes like a habit. Did you also follow something like that once you started working on it initially?
Absolutely. And I was grateful and lucky to have met a gentleman in that process early on. And he said something to me. I didn't really understand it at the time. It was, don't look at this as, what you're going to accomplish in the next 6 months or the next 3 months. He told me this initially. And so he says, just make it a lifestyle.
Right.
Make it a lifestyle. So I've done all those challenges. I've done the different, squat every day. You do 10, 10, 5, 5, 3, 3, 1, 1, really heavy. You work your way up. I did that every day for 30 days, before my workouts. I've done all those challenges and I love them because they get you to a different level very quickly. But if you stop, it's a use it or lose it principle in the body. And that goes into hormones, which we'll talk about shortly. You have certain habits. Those habits you're going to get a certain result from.
Right.
It's not what I've done. Your health today, my health today is essentially all of my habits for the past 10 years. I can look at people now and I can usually predict their blood work to some degree. You can look at people's physique, their complexion of their skin, and you can kind of get an idea quickly what their habits have been for the past 10 years, because it's a slow result. So the long-term game is, of course, do it forever. But I love the short-term challenges because it does push you. You build these, it's like a mental stress. You go through something stressful in your life, you become resilient. You just build a superpower that you wouldn't have without getting through that challenge.
Right.
And then there's a bigger challenge and you build a bigger muscle. That's how exercise is. So exercise is really, I guess I attribute it to life as well. My physical body is it's my vehicle in this life. First of all, this vehicle, I get one shot with it. Right. If I'm on my deathbed, I wish I had taken care of my body better if I was, right? It's my vehicle to experience the world, to have a family, to enjoy my hobbies, right? Most people trash their vehicle and they wonder why they're sick and tired and they don't have energy and they don't have energy to hang out with their kids in the evenings or whatever it is.
Totally get you. So there's a vehicle that keeps you driving. You maintain your vehicle, you can go for longer distance.
Absolutely.
And you can go safer. Now, since you were introduced into the field of fitness, I'm sure when you started doing it and you initially really enjoyed doing it, it pushed you into the field of bodybuilding. So how did that process go? You were on the verge of competing at one of the biggest bodybuilding competitions in the world called Arnold Classic. How was the journey to that?
So I didn't actually compete in that. So I had worked up. I had some friends that were competing. And when you get into that realm of how you look and how other people judge you, it's not very healthy, to be honest, right? You get obsessed with that process. So I built up. I was training for different events in Kansas where I lived there. And I got to the point where I was training really hard for 3 to 4 months. The show was a few weeks away and I just wouldn't do it. I saw it almost becoming an addiction, almost mentally. It was not good. It was not healthy. The way that we look at our bodies, the crazy things that we do as bodybuilders leading up to a show, it's not healthy, right? Health and fitness really should be the same thing.
Absolutely.
But I don't think they always are. I think there's a misconception there, with some of the crazy things that we do to cut weight and stuff. And I think it's a cool art. It's amazing and you should keep doing it. But you need to, when you go that extreme, you really have to take care of your body outside of that leading up to it. So I never got to the point where I actually competed because it's like a standard. I never felt like I was there. I wasn't confident enough. And I looked great. I looked better than, all my friends that were doing the competition.
Right.
But I just, in my mind, I wasn't good enough. And I didn't like that mindset anymore. So I stopped doing it.
Right. When you look at a bodybuilder, you look how amazing his physique is from head to toe. But the day they compete on any platform, they're the weakest when they compete because of no consumption of water, no consumption of salt. So what is the point of being a part of a bodybuilder when you're going to be competing on stage, looking so beefed up, looking so muscular, and at the end of the day, when actually you're the weakest?
Absolutely. And it's a funny phenomenon with bodybuilders. Every single one of them will tell you that, if you're 20 pounds heavier, you have that extra fluff on your body, 3 months before a competition, you're actually bigger and stronger, right? But then you cut and do some unhealthy things many times.
Right.
And when you see that person on camera, they look huge now, right? They're jacked, but they're actually a lot smaller. They're weaker, right? So it's a weird phenomenon, but it's one of those things that it really messes with your mind. So I didn't want to be in this race of, the 90-day challenges, the bodybuilding competitions. I wanted it to be sustainable, kind of like my mentor had said initially. Do this for the rest of your life. Don't treat it for a short-term result. And so I obviously took that to heart.
Superb. So if you have to pick a sport, like I said, bodybuilding is a sport that could push you to the limit and it make you do stuff for your body which is not right apparently. So if you had to pick a sport, would it be bodybuilding or would it be strongman or would it be powerlifting? That you actually would push your body to the limit and you would really enjoy it. What sport would it be?
For myself personally,
Right.
I really like the functional aspect of exercising. So I guess that'd be a little bit of everything, to be honest, right? I've done the CrossFit stuff. I did some of the opens for that. I did a very good job with it. I never, got in the rankings or anything, but I took it to heart and I got very good at it. I've also done some of the powerlifting. I've done some of the bodybuilding. I like it all though, and it's all important. I think we need to be strong. There's really 6 aspects to being physically healthy. There's strength, of course, but also strength endurance. There's also cardiovascular, which we know about, but there's also flexibility, right? So there's the 4, but then we have symmetry, which bodybuilders know very well. But it's like when somebody starts working out, we've all experienced this where maybe you haven't ever exercised before and you start doing curls and your right side is 30% stronger than the left side, right? So symmetry is important, especially as a chiropractor, because I look at the structure, nervous system, and then balance. So we want to do exercises where our brain is actually allowing us to balance, right? If I just go do a machine and I'm sitting on a machine, I'm not stimulating those parts of my brain. That's also a very important use it or lose it principle. When we work on our physical body, this is the most important thing I've learned from physical exercise and being just active all the time. Most of us are not active enough. We're on the screens and all this stuff, and we've never been lazier in history. So use it or lose it. We can all relate to muscles and bones being lost over time. If I become a couch potato, but I worked out for 10 years leading up to that, right? When we stop exercising, the muscles and bones don't have that stimulus anymore. They go away over time. It's use it or lose it. Here's what's more important. Your brain is incredible. 90% of the energy your brain spends in a day, right? The glucose actually used in your brain. 90% of that energy is actually applied to controlling your physical body, what we call proprioception, in relationship to gravity. That's right. Just to understand what I said. So our posture, essentially, right? Our balance when I'm walking around. Exactly. When you stop doing that, your brain actually deteriorates. And some of the brain health issues are one of the fastest growing sectors of healthcare. That type 3 diabetes, they call Alzheimer's, the dementias, all these things. You just move more. So that's what I want to look at, the overall longevity, the anti-aging effect of it. And I just thinking anything too extreme, it's not good, right? Look at a marathon runner. They don't look healthy if they've done that for a long time, right? Look at the bodybuilders, right? There's a lot of examples with that. They don't look healthy as they get older necessarily. Absolutely. So I want to take all of the fitness stuff and put it more into a health model, mainly for my brain.
Right. So then you're saying fitness should be anything which is an overall thing. Shouldn't just be one particular activity. Like I can't just be a marathon runner and say, okay, I'm healthy because I'm a marathon runner. No. Right. Or I'm just doing strength training, but I'm healthy, I'm fit, and just doing strength training. It has to be a combination of all. And if you're doing it, be consistent at it because it is meant for your body, for your brain to function well, and for your body to function well. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So 100%. So now since you're a chiropractor, I'm sure you get a wide variety of patients or clients coming to you. What kind of clients do you have coming to you mostly?
The way that we've structured our practice is so diverse. I mean, we can take the human physiology and improve on it because there's 3 things: deficiencies, toxicities, or imbalances. That's really all that can happen in this super complex body. So that's what we have effect of, right? The stress in our environment is really what throws those off. It's chemical stresses, the foods, not drinking enough water, drinking chemicals, being on too many prescriptions, maybe taking synthetic supplements. That's a big one. 90% of what's out there are isolated or synthetic. I don't take those. 95% of the supplements in the world I wouldn't give to my dog. Once you understand how that industry works, it's really a lot of toxic stuff out there. So you have chemical, mental, and physical stress. That's what we have control of. That's why everything gets thrown out of balance in our body. And so that's what we help people with. So any type of patient you could think of, what I do is essentially find those three things. I don't treat or cure anything. I find those imbalances.
Right.
Everybody's deficient in certain things. Could be water, could be salt, right? Everybody's toxic in certain things. Could be molds, could be heavy metals, things like that. But then we have imbalances. Maybe it's structural, neurological, hormonal. All I do is find those things with evidence
And correct it.
fix them as naturally and causatively as possible.
Right. So, like, normally what happens is when you're unwell and you call a doctor, you're not able to visit a doctor. And if you call any doctor and say, okay, I'm having fever or I'm having body pain or anything like that, he will tell you a medicine that you need to consume.
Yeah.
You have not consumed like pharmaceutical meds in like a very long time. So if you have a head pain, a headache or a body ache or tiredness, or you have a client coming up and you're very exhausted, but you still have to visit that meet that client, what is your take on it? What do you do?
That's a great question. So my obsession for 20, 25 years has been, again, affecting my own health. And so I've learned that, again, we just mentioned medications by Death by Medicine in the book is the fourth cause of death. So I'll use those if I have to. It's not my first resort though, right? But I have not had a prescription in my life for 25 years. My kids have not had any medications. I have 4 children, 12 and under, from a lady that was told that she would never have children. She had the PCOS, the endometriosis. She went through all these tests. The doctor said, you're never going to have kids. You can try in vitro. Maybe it'll be 10% effective. Well, we now have 4 kids. You know, I'll let you assume what you want. I didn't treat anything. However, we got her healthy enough to where that wasn't true anymore. We have 4 children now from somebody that was told she would never have children. So those kids have not had any medications, not even a simple Tylenol for a fever. So what I've learned is just different tools, a skill set that allows us to use nature and address the cause. Because we can all agree we're not deficient in aspirin. That's not why you get a headache, but that's what we take for headaches usually. Actually, we are deficient in nutrients. So when you identify those things, I've gotten really good at the evidence-based protocols with nutrition, supplements, herbs, enzymes, and things like that. So that's what we use, only because I use it for myself. And, you know, everything I've confirmed through blood work, we've done live blood analysis in the past, hormone testing, urinary tests. Now, because I like evidence also. I don't like the voodoo stuff, right? The voodoo stuff works. Don't get me wrong. It works well for some people, but I need a blend of both. I want to take the evidence, the blood works, but also have the safe tools to affect those naturally. If everybody knows you can improve blood work by eating healthier, why can't you do it with specialized supplements? And that's what we've gotten good at.
Right. So like a lot of people apparently in India work in call centers, work in IT companies where they're sitting in front of the screen for 9 hours, 10 hours, every 12 hours, especially those who are working from home. So fitness does not come as a point to them where they have to work out, because apparently I'm sitting for 9-10 hours on the laptop. You don't have that much energy to get up and go to the gym or do any kind of physical activity. So what is your message to them to be fit? For them to be physically active, to keep their body running, what do they need to do?
That's a tough topic, right? But that's the norm now, right? We've never been lazier. Right. We've never been on screens more. Absolutely. There's studies that show the more screen time you have, the less gray matter in your brain. Now, we just also said if you stop moving, your brain also deteriorates. Right? You have less gray and white matter when we stop moving, because that's 90% of how your brain is stimulated through our physical body. Right? As we're moving around right now or sitting, we're totally balanced. We take that for granted. All your joints, muscles, and tendons are sending information to your brain, keeping me balanced. It's incredible. And we take that for granted, right? So it's just one of those things that when you have a seated job, there's a few things we do with our patients. First of all, try to figure out how to do a standing workstation. There's so many desks now that have hydraulics where you can go up and down. Absolutely. We don't want to sit all day long, but you also probably don't want to stand all day long. You'll probably develop other issues because of that. We want transitions though, okay? Here's the funny thing. If you just take a 20-second break every 20 minutes, you'll actually improve your blood flow. You'll actually fire your brain a little bit. People say, well, I don't have 20 seconds. I can't take that time away every 20 minutes. I have work to do. You'll be more productive when you do that though. So again, the use it or lose it principle, those people figure out how to get more active, get a wobble board to stand on. So I actually have one that I use it at my office that I'm standing on a standing workstation, but I also have a wobble board. So when I stand on it, I'm stimulating the brain just passively. I don't have to think about it. I stand on it, it's just automatic. Right. But also exercising more. If you're not moving enough during the day, you have to move more outside of there. And the comment that you made of you don't have enough energy to start working out, you never will. Energy doesn't come magically. It's not like one day I'm going to finally have energy. You get energy from pushing your body. And that's where that discipline came in earlier. When you start pushing the body and you build those muscles, mental muscles even, and you go through those things in life, you build a muscle that you weren't capable that you could get through that thing. And there's different levels to that, right?
Correct.
That's exercise as well. And when we age, we need even more of it. So we have to figure out, it's not an easy answer. We have to figure out how to move more, because you will have more brain issues. You will have more gut issues. Those are directly connected. You will have less muscle mass. You will have less bone structure, but it's mainly the brain deteriorates when you don't do that enough. So it's very complex, but it's the simple answer is you have to figure out how to move more somehow.
If you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you need to figure it out. Like quite some time back when we spoke about Steve Jobs, where health is equal to wealth. You want to buy good cars, you want to buy a good watch, you want to buy the best motorcycles, you need to be healthy enough to ride there or to go in there. For that, even though money is needed, your health is more than anything which is important. For people who take health also seriously, also consume different kind of pharmaceuticals. Maybe good for them, maybe not good for them, but it's about the aesthetics of people. Look, I want to look good. I'm taking this because I want to look good. What does it take on people taking any pharmaceuticals, anything which is not good for the body, but taking it because it's going to give them a better result at the end of the day?
Right. And I guess where I come from is define the better result.
Right.
Better result to me is better blood work, better physiology, better function, right? So you're treating a symptomatic model. Again, we're not deficient in synthetics, right? Most medications are patented synthetics, isolated things in a really high dose that have a specific chemical reaction in the body. The problem is, remember, there's 30,000 billion trillion chemical reactions per second. So I may improve some of those chemical reactions, but also remember those medications are the fourth leading cause of death in the US. So what else is it doing to stress my body? So that's the trade-off. We're in such a cultural world that wants a quick fix. Health does not happen quickly.
Right.
If you take a sick person though, or just somebody that's never exercised, we've all seen this example. Maybe it's a family member. You don't see Uncle John. He's 55 years old or 60. He loses his wife. Maybe you go through a really big life change or an event that really just changes your mindset. So Uncle John starts exercising. He starts eating healthy. And I don't see Uncle John until next year at the next family reunion, right? And he was 150 pounds overweight before. He never ate healthy, never exercised. We can all visualize what's going to happen if Uncle John starts exercising 5 days a week.
Right.
He starts cutting out the processed foods. Maybe his doctor helps him get off some of his medications, which add water retention and other stress to the body and other brain issues and things. The more chemicals we have, the less healthy we are. It's really that simple. But we can visualize Uncle John a year later if he makes all those changes, and I see him at that next family reunion. He doesn't look the same. Uncle John doesn't look the same. His face is different. He's active now. He can walk up the steps without getting out of breath.
Right.
It's incredible. The body's capable of healing, but we're marketed to the quick fixes. Take the aspirin for your headache. Here's the problem with symptoms. Let's take one symptom. I don't care if it's thumb pain, digestion issues, but let's talk about a headache because most people can relate to that. If you get a headache, I've actually had 2 patients in my career. Their headaches were caused by brain tumors.
Oh,
so we went through all the tests, all the procedures, the common sense pecking order of events. We ended up finding out they had a brain tumor. That's not a fun diagnosis. That's not a fun conversation, but we went through all the right steps to determine you have headaches because of the brain tumor, unfortunately. Now, I don't assume every person with a headache has a brain tumor. That's ridiculous, of course. Some of those people, it may be because of dehydration, some because of mineral imbalances, some because of mental stress, some because of screen time too much, right? Some because of their sleeping position, some because of certain preservatives, some because of certain food sensitivities. The point is there's hundreds of reasons that you might trigger a headache in a person. No more than you can treat the headache, you have to address those 100 things,
right,
which goes back to the deficiencies, toxicities, and imbalances. So we're in this such quick fix world. That's what's sexy, right? We want to go to the quick fix while we neglect our function and health as my blood work gets worse over time, which makes me age quicker, which actually is counterproductive because now my skin doesn't look as good. My muscle, I can't put on muscle mass. My brain starts deteriorating. So we just need to understand that healing takes time. There's no quick fixes ever. Right. Again, look at Uncle John. You have to spend, minimum several months, if not several years, to change your physiology. The cool thing, though, is it's never too late. You have they've done radioisotope studies on this. 98% of the cells in your body and my body right now, the cells, there's about 10 trillion, depending on the source, but 10 trillion cells, 98% of those were not there a year ago. That's it. Understand, 98% of your cells, your physical body, was not there a year ago. They've died off and been replaced. Every second we lose a million cells, they die off. We also rebuild a million cells per second. Right. It's incredible. We take this vehicle for granted. We trash it. We do all these things with all the stress. We don't realize that we wait for symptoms to show up. If you do that, you're waiting to have a heart attack to finally fix your diet or exercise. It takes 10 to 30 years for arteries to clog. All of us wait around for the heart attack to finally
and
do
then
something.
you change it, and then you end up changing your lifestyle. You wait for something to happen. So I think normally what happens is, if we talk about food as well, we want food faster. We can't, if you want to make, for example, our Indian food is rice and dal. If you want to cook rice and dal, it'll take you at least 15 to 20 minutes to, get your food ready and on the table. But if you go to a restaurant to have Chinese food, within 5 minutes, your food is on the table. Yes, it's delicious. Yes, it's tasty. It's amazing. You will want more of it. But the food that takes time to cook, which is much healthier and which your body needs as nutrition, is more important. When I'm consuming a bowl of maybe chicken fried rice, even though there is protein, even though there's carbs, I'm not getting any kind of nutrition because it is cooked at such high flame that the nutrition value is zero, even though I'm eating so much.
And that's a good point, because people are counting calories. That's my nitpickiness against fitness sometimes, right? You have these people counting calories.
Right.
You don't have enough people counting phytonutrients or minerals or chemicals. There's so many chemicals in our food. So we're counting calories, but we're not counting chemicals and nutrition anymore. So we're overfed with the calories and undernourished from a mineral, enzyme, vitamin or deficiency.
So family lot of men, I think above the age of 20, 25, start reducing the testosterone level in the body. But they're not aware of it. Or even if they are aware of it, they don't know how to rectify it. Or even if they know which doctor to visit or what to do, they still hesitate to share this particular topic with their friends, families, or whoever, thinking they will be like a laughing stock. Testosterone, having low testosterone levels is like a taboo subject which is not at all spoken. What does it take on it?
So this goes back to our initial conversation. So the chemical, mental, and physical stresses in our lives. Here's the thing with Americans. Our lifespan is getting worse. So I told you I have 4 children, 12 and under. Their lifespan will not outlive us as a parent. This is a fact now. Our lifespan for the first time in 100 years is factually less, is going down now. It's not going up. The human body can last 110 to 130 years, depending on the source. We're barely making it to half that. Now that's even being reduced. So we have to look at, our genetics have not changed in 100 years. Our environments absolutely have, with the chemical, mental, and physical stress. Now that goes into hormones, brain health, the physical body, right? If people want to look good in the aesthetic part of it, you have to get healthy to do that, not the quick injections and things like that, right? So you have to address the cause, which is not easy. Takes a lot of discipline, a lot of work. It's much easier to do the quick routes, but you're trading convenience for function now. So the testosterone conversation is really interesting. It's kind of a taboo subject, as you mentioned. That's weird to me, because I work with people all day long with these types of things. It has nothing to do with sexual health, right? It has nothing to do with that. However, our sexual health is a determination of our overall health. If you have low drive, your health probably isn't very good. But that's so multifunctional now. Even women have testosterone. Women's testosterone does the same thing it does in you and I. It affects their brain health. You're more prone to depression if you have low testosterone. There's a low T epidemic, essentially. So now 30-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 50 years ago, their testosterone was actually higher now, right? So overall it's lower, but it's also reducing faster over time. It's because of stress. Stress affects your nervous system, which affects your fight or flight, which affects your rest digest nervous system, which affects your adrenals, thyroid, pituitary, hypothalamus, gonads, or ovaries in a female. And it lowers that. Now I have not enough energy. I can't put on the muscle mass. It's a mess, and it's really due to stress. So the low T levels, it's a big problem.
Okay, so now people on a daily basis consume calcium capsules or vitamin capsules or stuff like that, multivitamins. What does it take on people consuming Andropique testosterone booster? And knowing that the booster, let me just frame my question well. Like when you buy any product or any testosterone booster, you will see a wide variety of ingredients on the bottle. But Andropique is one brand that has a testosterone booster, which has only one ingredient and one ingredient only that we're talking about is fenugreek. So, what does it take on people consuming testosterone booster on daily basis?
So how I've gotten good at helping myself be medication free, my kids and thousands of patients now, is I literally am obsessed with sourcing the best, safest, most natural and effective things that change my blood work, that improve function, that help treat symptoms without the side effects. That's what my skill set is. I've gotten very good at that. So I source the best stuff in the world for certain categories, for food enzymes, for probiotics, you name it. So I want the most powerful stuff in the world because this is what I live and breathe.
Right.
This isn't a game for me. It's not a business for me. I share what I've learned with people. And some people think we're selling them something. I'm literally sharing with what we've learned with thousands of people and myself with a great track record. So the Andropique is no exception to that. So I actually like to call it a testosterone booster because that sounds scary to a lot of people, because I actually use this with females as well. They have the same problem. When they have low T levels, their brain doesn't work. They're more prone to depression. They can't put on muscle or bone. That's a big deal. Osteoporosis, osteopenia, these are big issues with women. Their drive goes down, their energy goes down. These are all low testosterone symptoms. Okay, so I don't like booster because it doesn't give you testosterone. One of the tools that I've learned, I rarely want to give you something that your body manufactures its own of.
Absolutely.
Testosterone, it makes that.
It makes it.
Hydrochloric acid, your body produces stomach acid. I don't use most digestive enzymes.
Right.
A lot of people use melatonin. My brain produces that. Did you know that increased levels of melatonin externally over time actually lower testosterone levels? Most people don't know that. So I've gotten good at figuring out these safe chemicals, safe nutrients to work with that. So what it does is really Andropique, we all produce some testosterone in the morning.
Right.
We have kind of a dump of testosterone, okay?
Right.
So we have people take Andropique in the evening. And what happens is when I take it at night, when I'm sleeping, it absorbs into my blood. It actually binds to something called SHBG. It's sex hormone binding globulin. So what happens is if I don't take Andropique, my body produces, let's say, a number of like 100 testosterone. I'm making up a number for information purposes. So I produce 100 in the morning between 6 and 8 a.m. 60 of that goes to a bond that's irreversible. So I lose 60. Right. Now I'm left with 40. About 2 to 3% is free. That's what most people want, the free. So you want more total testosterone because we have low T epidemic happening. Right. And we want more free, more access to it. So more bioavailable testosterone. So if I produce 100, I lose 60. I have 40 left. That's not as much as if I take Andropique at night. That actually binds to that sex hormone binding globulin. So I take it at night. It binds to this bond. In the morning when I produce my 100, a lot of these receptors are already taken up. So I don't lose 60. Maybe I lose 10 or 20, but now I'm left with 80, right? Versus the 40 from before I was taking the Andropique. Right. So it basically makes your body more efficient at using its own testosterone. So I don't like the term testosterone booster, even though it's in that category, because it sounds like you're giving it to the body. But if I give you testosterone, your brain says, I have enough. This is what happens with melatonin, hydrochloric acid. When you give the body something that produces, it's a negative feedback. The brain says, I have plenty. Right. Those organs shut down, right? Why do you think men's testicles shrink up with the synthetic steroids, right? The body shuts down its own production. Remember, we talked about use it or lose it. If I stop exercising, my muscle and bone goes away, but also my brain goes away. Right. So if we're giving these things to people, it's not a good long-term solution, but we want that quick fix, right? So it basically makes your own testosterone more bioavailable, but it also inhibits some really bad things that happen. So if somebody's already on TRT or they're not on anything, or they just want more energy or whatever, typically what will happen is you get a lot of really cool side effects with Andropique as well. It inhibits, these studies can be, people can ask for them, but it inhibits testosterone conversion to estrogen, which is really scary for bodybuilders, right? If they have too much testosterone, it can be converted to estrogen, which causes lots of big issues, right? Cancers and other things are related to that. Testosterone can also be converted to DHT. There's a whole category of drugs that inhibit that for hair loss, right? Male pattern baldness, prostate issues, right? So we're inhibiting some of these bad things while also increasing the total testosterone. So even though it is a booster, I don't like that term because all it's doing is making your body more efficient at using its own testosterone while inhibiting some of the bad things that might happen because of that.
Right. So people can use it on a daily basis for a long period of time for their own personal necessities.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like eating healthy. A lot of people say, well, once you do something, you have to do it forever. They don't want to get hooked on something.
Correct.
Well, I'm hooked on exercise. That's a good, healthy habit to be hooked on, right? So this is something that's plant-based. It doesn't take away from your body.
Right.
It only adds to it. Kind of like if I was to tighten up my diet, eat more whole foods, less processed foods, you have to do those forever if you want the benefit of them, right?
Right.
So that's the same thing. A lot of people think it's a treatment for something. It's not.
No treatment.
It is leveling your body up.
Now, we all know that Andropique comes from this herb called fenugreek, which is called methi in India. Now, just a fun element. Now, when we have methi as in, it comes, you can dry it and can be used as kasuri methi, which can be put into maybe a chicken gravy or something. You can, when you buy fresh methi leaves, you can make a vegetable out of it. You can make it into, you can mix it with dough and make a paratha out of it. How do you all eat methi? How do you eat methi? If you
I don't.
no,
We don't really have access to it.
okay,
So the whole definition of supplements
right,
is getting something that you usually wouldn't get,
absolutely,
right? So a lot of people don't get a lot of iodine in their diet. That's one example.
right,
So I don't eat a bunch of sea vegetables every day. That's where there's an abundant amount of iodine in those. So I supplement with it, right? So this is the same thing. But here's the problem. You have to supplement with Andropique because you can't eat enough methy to get that effect.
right.
I think you would need 30 pounds of seed, raw seed, to get a pound of the molecules that help with the testosterone.
Right.
You can't eat that much.
You can't eat. That's the reason we use supplement for it. Right. So just speaking on your plan for the entire day, from how does your day start to how does it end? What is your entire daily structure like?
Oh man, people are going to think I'm crazy. So not every day is like this, 5 days a week. So
Yeah.
a lot of times I try to get up at 4 a.m. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes I'll hit that snooze button a few times, but I'll either do a hot sauna, infrared sauna, cold plunge, sometimes work out in the morning, either work out in the morning or the afternoon. My workouts are very different though. I try to do something every day. Remember, we're not as active as we need to be.
Right.
I may just go out. The other day I went to my garage. I have a garage gym. And all I did was I set a timer for every 30 seconds. Every 30 seconds it beeped. I did 3 pull-ups. So I did that 80 cycles. It was a 40-minute workout, but I got 240 pull-ups in. So to try to do that much volume without, spreading it out like that, it's almost impossible, right? Because you can do 20 pull-ups and then you can do 15. Your muscles get tired and then you can't do them anymore, right? So to get to 240, that might be a workout. So that was just a 40-minute workout on pull-ups. So that's an example of that. So that's why I can work out every day. I don't overtrain because it's not like I'm doing all upper body every day. It doesn't, it's not the same thing. So I try to use actually the fenu seeds, which is it's a defatted, debittered methy seed, right? Fenugreek seed. And what it is it's protein and fiber.
Right.
It replaces oatmeal. That's why I love it, because oatmeal in America has all kinds of pesticides, literally poisons that have been proven to cause cancer and a big insulin response. Most diseases are fed by inflammation and an insulin response. It's not good. We're over sugarified, right? So there's so much sugar everywhere. It's delicious. And so it's a protein and fiber supplement. So that's how I get my methy, so to speak. But it's actually the seed, which is protein and fiber. So, and then I'll usually hang out with my kids for a little bit in the morning. I get ready for, to go see patients. I'm usually at the office 8 hours a day. When I get home, I either do that workout or hang out with my kids, have dinner with them. And I go to bed actually pretty early because I get up at 4 a.m. I'm usually in bed by 8:30, which is kind of sad, but very different than when I was in college. But a day just is going to include something with my kids and my wife, seeing patients. That's my purpose in life. So I have to have, if I'm away from my patients too long, I need it, right? I miss it. But I also need to stay active, eat healthy. I'm trying to take care of this vehicle. So my priorities have changed in the past 20 years, right? My priorities are very different because I want to see my kids graduate high school, right? So when you look at the human body and our lifespan getting worse, we're screwing it up. None of us are doing it right, or our lifespan wouldn't be getting worse over time. So I am very weird. But what's weird to me is heart disease is the number 1 killer. That's weird to me. Cancer is the number 2 killer. That's weird to me. Medical intervention is the 3rd leading cause of death. Medications is the 4th. So a lot of people look at my lifestyle as weird. I think all that stuff's weird, but that's the mainstream stuff that it's so easy to get caught up into that.
We need to, slowly, with educating people in the right way, in the right manner, we can get rid of all these 4.
Absolutely.
If I know that I'm going to eat too much of junk or too much of lazing around, is eventually going to get me a heart attack. And obviously I do not want to have a heart attack. I need to change my life right now, immediately.
Yeah.
If not, it won't take time. And there's no point waiting for a heart attack and saying, oh, I want a heart attack. I think I need to take my life seriously and to start working out, eating healthy, and getting all those right things in place after a heart attack doesn't make sense. So if I'm healthy right now, it'll prevent me from even coming close to a heart attack.
But remember, we're short-term reward creatures, right? We want the quick fixes. I want the delicious food,
Right.
the sweets and things like that. So it really has to be a discipline, right? We can't always be motivated. None of us have motivation 24/7. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
You have to have the discipline. You have to have the examples that I had early in my life that showed me here's the outcome if you do this for a long time. It's no different than investing. Where you are today is what you've been doing the past 10 years, whether it's your health or your finances or otherwise. So I want to be around for my kid. That's my motivator.
Well, that's every person needs a motivation in life to keep them going, to keep them looking forward for what's going to happen tomorrow. And this body that we live in, we need to maintain it. We need to make sure that it's healthy, well maintained, so it doesn't need to keep going into the garage very often.
We're given one vehicle.
One vehicle.
That's it.
I love this. You need to have that one vehicle which you need to maintain.
Mhm.
Superb. So one message for not just all my friends, but for everybody watching this video, what will be the message for them to be healthy? Do we need to check up blood? Do we need to have a blood test very often just to make sure you're on the right track? If you're in the mood, if you go to the family, you're obviously going to have a nice meal. You may end up eating junk. You may end up eating something which you're not supposed to eat. But then how do you rectify it the next coming week?
That's the question, right? So it's not that I don't eat delicious food and things like that. I've learned to enjoy health food, and I make it taste good. My wife has done an incredible job taking my philosophies and what I've learned what foods are healthy and converting them to tasty things. Because some people, I don't want to sit there and just eat on raw celery and cucumbers all day long, or it's not fun to do that. So it's a discipline again. If I had to pick one thing to start the process, because it's a process, it's a never-ending process. We've revamped our personal care products, all of our foods, our cleaning products, how we exercise, how we think, how much sleep we're getting. It's a mission. You have to have a good reason. That's why you need that foundation of your kids or your spouse or whatever it is. You need to find that purpose. So if I had to pick something, you have to find your purpose. Without that, it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be expensive. I don't want to buy the expensive supplements. I don't want to take the time out of my day to exercise. Without the purpose, none of those other tools matter. None of them matter.
It would.
But if I had to pick one, I would say start moving more, because your brain health will improve, your chemistry will improve, my blood sugar will be better, right? Your physical body will be better. So when you do physical things and you haven't been, you're actually going to improve your chemical, mental, and physical health. So if I had to start somewhere, figure out how to move more. I don't care if it's going out to your backyard and chasing butterflies. Figure out how to move more, but it needs to be sustainable, which is, doing things that are fun and maybe that you have easy access to. That's the first step. And that will create a domino effect, a snowball effect of wanting to do more. It's like, okay, I've been exercising for 30 days. Maybe I'll start fine tuning my diet, or maybe I'll start sleeping properly, or start, stop drinking as much, or whatever it is. So I think the physical, if I had to pick one, it's going to be the physical activity. Figure out a way to work on that first.
Figure out a way to just keep moving, right? Wow. Now, today's kids apparently all love eating junk. You have very few kids actually wanting to eat a nice meal. You give them a nice healthy meal. I mean, a meal with vegetables or an evening snack with fruits. They will refuse it. You give them a burger, you'll give them a pizza, a bowl of pasta. They would love it. So, how have you done it with your kids? How do your kids eat?
Like everything, it's not easy, right?
Right, it's not easy.
It's important enough for us to do it. So my kids were fortunate that my wife, remember, she was told she would never have children, and we reversed her physiology that allowed us to have four kids now.
Yeah.
So we're lucky because we were a little bit older when we started having children. I took care of my babies and kids very different than I would have 20 years ago. So that's part of it. As I was more mature, I learned a lot of those specialized tools that I help patients with, and I applied it with my children. I started from the beginning. We started from the beginning, getting them the purees of the healthy stuff as babies, doing, mom's milk as long as possible. There's so much liquid gold, there's immunoglobulins and all these things that are miraculous for our health. So you want to breastfeed as long as possible. Then we transition to the healthy foods. They didn't have cake, donuts, candy for probably 6 or 7 years. They didn't know what it was. But I see all the time, people start introducing ice cream at 1 year old or 2 years old.
Right.
good luck with that. Good luck ever taking that away now. Once you introduce it, it's an addiction. We're all addicted to sugar. It's one of the most addicting substances known to man, and you can get it everywhere now. It's an addiction. You don't want to start early. So if you start it, it will be a bigger challenge. So the key is to not start it. You're not neglecting your child. You're helping them build the foundation of their brain, their body, which is their vehicle. I wish my parents knew this information when I was, I wouldn't have asthma. I wouldn't have all these other health issues as a child. So you want to start as early as possible, because once you get into a bad habit, it's very hard to change those habits.
Okay, so simple thing. Well, I'm going to take away from this podcast is going to be one thing. Is going to be keep moving, and I'm going to make sure I keep this message and follow it. Apparently, which is not that easy, but yes, nothing is easy in life. You have to follow it. So, Dr. Tim, thank you very much for removing your valuable time for coming on our podcast of Andropique presenting to you mic testing. It's been a pleasure interacting and talking with you. I'm super honored, and I'm looking forward to interact with you in the near future again. Thank you so very much, Dr. Tim.
Thank you very much as well.
Thank you very much.